going on, guys? This is your boy Anvil here, and I'm back with Sarah. What's going on, Sarah?
Oh, not much. I'm not mad that the recording didn't, work the first time. Not mad. But I'm really not mad also because we have a guest today. Rare
Yeah.
guest on the show. We have Ithi, our
Oh,
champion from the Hoopa U tournament. What's going on, Ithi?
not much. Honestly, I'm pretty glad to be here. Didn't think I could make it, but here we are.
Yep, here we are. Allah willed it.
Mm. the, the haters doubted you, man, but you made your way here, pretty convincingly. Um, and how are you feeling, man? You,
Well,
I know you wanted to prove something going into this tournament. Why don't you talk about a little bit about that too?
I wanted to prove two things first and foremost. The first and probably most important thing was that Hoopa Unbound, I don't believe to be broken. I mean, yes, it has a lot of sets, and yes, it can feasibly run whatever it wants, but I wanted to prove that this metagame had the tools and that you didn't need to go out of your way to specifically counter Hoopa Unbound with something like Mandibuzz plus Chansey, which was seen in round one by Linus. I wanted to prove that so long as you had momentum, you could out offense it. And the second thing is that we made a little bet, uh, like at post round one, where it was like, hey, if you win this, I get to come along. And and round one, I almost lost. Honestly, I almost lost on the spot because I was choking in the early game. And then by some miracle, I was like, "Oh, Rotom Wash cleans up late game. I'll take that."
Yeah, it's funny. You made it all the way to the finals and won, but it could have easily ended in round one for you against Linus. But you know, I guess fate had other plans. Um, so would you say that Hoopa not broken, Ithi?
I would not say broken. It's definitely strong. It's definitely up there with the likes of Keldeo and Weavile in terms of the sheer influence it can have on the builder. But like with both of those threats, so long as you are able to out offense and keep maneuver on your side, you can prevent these pokes from gaining free switch-ins. Of course, the biggest advantage that Hoopa Unbound has over these two is that it can feasibly run whatever it wants, and you don't know what it's running until it actually clicks a move.
Mm-hmm.
But
That is,
yeah, but again, so long as you're keeping momentum, you're keeping the pokes healthy, and you have a solid enough mindset, you can keep Hoopa Unbound at bay to the point where you can eat any one hit and know for sure what it has.
Yeah, yeah. I'm inclined to agree because even though Hoopa can run anything, it has a lot of things that are holding it back. Because well, one, it can't actually run everything. The four move slots. All you have to work with. But also, it's got pretty, um, say average, maybe mediocre speed even. Right, it's weak to U-turn, so you can't really bring it in safely in most circumstances. And honestly, having like protect, I mean, well, protect sometimes works unless it's like hyperspace, fury. But just being able to like scout what move is going to go for,
yeah.
I think could be a big hindrance to it. And I think you need to run choice band, for instance, to Oko Clef with a gunk shot, which well, actually maybe Life Orb too. But Life Orb's bad, but if it is choice band, for instance, and they lock into gunk shot, then that's very exploitable. You don't really want to be locked into a poison type move.
Oh yeah, for sure. Poison type moves, in my opinion, Hoopa and Bound should mandatorily run Gunk Shot. If it doesn't, if it's not pairing with something like Exadrill or Scizor or Metagross, all of them popular partners.
Oh, we got a caller.
Oh yeah, yeah, my bad. I'll
Oh,
I'll,
No, it's
I'll
okay.
take it real quick.
No, it's fine.
yeah, sorry.
So we'll just talk while Ithi handles that.
Yeah, sounds good. I also wanted to mention that I think Isti was trying to make a point earlier that he was trying to use a team that could fare well both in the current ORAS meta and could also possibly deal with Hoopa Unbound. So he was using stuff that is relevant and viable in the current ORAS metagame. So he's using stuff like Mega Lopunny, Pharaoh, Volcanion, that sort of stuff that has really gained popularity in the last couple SPLs. And he has been performing really well with them. He was able to deal with Hoopa pretty effectively. And I think that's also point to illustrate because and I know a lot of people may criticize this tournament and say, oh, well, people are specifically prepping for Hoopa U. That's why it may not seem broken. Well, Ithi is a perfect example of just using what is good in the meta, and he still had success with that. So I think that is one point to make. And I also think that the way the current meta in ORAS is going with like very offensively oriented teams with decent ways of revenge killing with priority, and I think Scarflanders is like used more to deal with Alakazam and stuff now too, so that's been gaining popularity. And I think though just the way the metagame is now, that Hoopa Unbound won't really seem broken because there's so many different ways you can revenge kill it in the current metagame. And like Iti said, you really just gotta like send in a pivot and then see what set it is. Maybe they'll get a kill, maybe they won't. But once you figure out what it is, then it becomes way easier as long as you, like it said, prevent them from getting any momentum. You keep the momentum up and keep the pressure. And I feel like I feel like not hydration. Uh, Hoop on Bound feels a a breaker like Crawdon that is very hard to switch into, but it has like overinflated stats, so it has really high offensive stats, but it's still like held back by that defense, like Sarah said. So there's I feel like there's plenty of ways you could deal with it in the current metagame as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. For example, Superior. Superior is a great way to annoy. It's a great way to annoy Hoop Unbound. I didn't really load up with Superior screens, but screens also is a major thorn for Hoop Unbound. And Hoop Unbound, the closest thing that you can relate to it currently in the metagame would be something like Hydreigon, where yeah, you're gonna get all these kills, but the moment screens go up, all of a sudden they're becoming two-hit KOs, and these sweepers they can just grab a kill versus you, and you will have accomplished nothing. That's another big point, and that's just another big point is that screens dominate so much in the builder where you have to respect them. I mean, obviously, in playing against them now, it's a lot easier, as was seen in this SPL, where a lot of the players just handled screens beautifully, and they didn't have to compromise their build or go to any sort of extreme measures just to outplay them.
Yeah, I don't think it's that over centralizing as like some other threats that have been in the tier. You know, um I'd say like Mega Metagross. They're both in the same they're both in RSOU. I would say that Mega Metagross is about as scary, if not scarier, because even though Mega Metagross generally would just run physical, besides the random like HP fire sets or something, it hits about as hard on the physical side with Tough Claws. It has also a pretty great move pool, which much like Hoopa, you never really know exactly what the opponent's Metagross is running. But unlike Hoopa, it has a great speed tier. 110 has like great bulk, so it can actually like live and attack. Unlike Hoopa, it takes up a mega slot, but whatever. It's like one of the best megas. Like who cares? So to me, if Mega Metagross can be dealt with in the meta, I don't see why Hoopa would be too much to handle.
Oh yeah, and another thing too, the metagame back when it was current gen, it was a very different time. You saw a lot of teams that were a lot more on the fat side of the spectrum, and Hoopa and Bound just absolutely loved, and I mean loved, preying on those teams. And another thing too, uh, I don't quote me on this, but Tornadus Therian wasn't the modernized max H 248 HP and max speed with Assault Vest. It was a lot more offensively oriented back then.
Yeah, I believe it used to run enough special attack to be able to Oko Keldeo with Hurricane. I think
Yeah, yeah,
was the
yeah,
old
yeah,
spread. Maybe
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what
That's
you're
what it
referring to.
ran back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it ran back then. So Hoopa Unbound, wasn't necessarily afraid of Tornado and it would just grab a kill after rocks, and that'd be that.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing too is that, well, Mega Sableye was around too, and Hoopa Unbound, despite all of its power, was not able to stop Stall. I don't remember the exact reasoning for why Hoopa Unbound ended up being banned. That you can just probably look about the forums, but I do remember a big part of it was its ability to prey on Fat and other offensive teams, and the metagame was just wildly different from what it is now.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was a narrow margin that it got voted, too much for OU, which is still fine to me considering that Mega Metagross wasn't banned, but Hoopa was. But I
yeah,
guess it was very narrow. So maybe if a few people voted differently, it might have been a very different metagame we have today. If nothing
yeah.
changed after that.
And I agree that um I think Hoopa should be one of those mods that should be at least like suspect tested in the future, because I like all the points that we made. I think people have the tools to deal with it for sure. And I think looking back at the forums, they said the spec set is what threw it over the edge.
Hmm.
But I
I could see
mean,
that because you can run like
specs Hoopa.
Psyshock and Dark Pulse and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I think Sarah, you made this point like a bit earlier, like a couple weeks ago. Like it plays similar to a Mega Gardevoir, in that sense, because it becomes very hard to switch into on the special side, and it also has side shock and stuff.
Oh
But
yeah, I did say that.
like that, yeah, like we mentioned earlier, the way the metagame is now with especially with the speed tiers, like they're getting faster and faster. Like before, everything was like crowded around 350, I would say, and now I'd say with like Lopunny, Mega Man, Alakazam, Weavile, Torn being so popular, it's slowly shifted faster and faster. So I think there's plenty of more ways to revenge kill stuff like that, as well as like goaded priority users like Talonflame that can still deal with offensive stats like Hoopa too. That I don't think it'll get as much momentum as it did um, back when ORAS was current gen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. And even then, like worst case scenario, you can probably run a more defensive scissor spread, although that's not the go-to option. A lot of scissors are a lot faster and stronger, but that's also another option. And yeah, Hoopa Unbound, it would fit right in beautifully. It would just be another threat that you have to keep momentum against and out offense, which is a lot of what ORAS has become these days, is trying to keep the momentum on your side and out offense the opponent.
Yeah. Honestly, I think well, I basically like covered everything, but no, wait, no, it's gone. Oh wait, no, I remember. I remember. I think lineups ran it against you like round one. If Hoopa was in the tier, you probably just see more dark types. Like Mandibuzz specifically. I think Mandibuzz, usage will go higher, and there you go. Hoopa answer, and then people will probably run less because Mandibuzz also gets like U-turn and stuff too. So I could see that being like a you know, really easy thing to address, or way to address Hoopa. And then it'll be kind of like Gliscor and Keldeo nowadays, where they're not as like overbearing as they used to be because of some simple spread changes on some other mons. You know, I think it'd be the same way with Hoopa.
Mm.
And and even if that wasn't enough, like it's base 80 speed. Like, and it dies to like any like U-turn. I don't know. It's just not that threatening to me. I don't know. I have a little more confidence in the
No, no,
metagame being able to adjust
yeah, and
to
I
that.
agree. Even like fatter teams, like when I think of people probably say like, oh, Hoopa destroys like Mega Lodi balances or something like that. But I think I still think the current balances with like Volcanion at least still have means of beating it. Like you can easily just go into Volcanion and click protect, and you'll be fine versus most variants, and you'll be able to scout whether it's physical or special, and then go into like Clef or Pharaoh and possibly deal with that too. So I think there's definitely ways to play around it, even with like bulkier teams.
Yeah.
Um, and stall, like if you're running, there's plenty of tools. I'd say balance would probably have the most trouble with it, and then stall, and then offensive teams. But yeah, I think the tools are still there. Like people are still, like people just recently discovered defensive Volcanion, and that's been putting so much work recently. So I think there's plenty of ways to go in terms of development in this tier, and we just have to see what happens as time goes on.
I remember something Ithi also that I wanted to say. So before you said like gunk shot on Hoopa would be mandatory, I completely disagree. It's just so explodable to me, and I don't think you really need to run it for Clef because I'm pretty sure it's like there's raw psychic will like 2 KO it with some chip, and if
Probably.
you get like a nasty plot up, then it'll just OKO it, you know? Because
It
like
probably will,
yeah,
because like Fable as is doesn't want to eat a psychic from Latios.
yeah, they run more Fizz because of Weavile and stuff.
Yeah, we've on Lopunny force it to run the Fizz Def.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. Yeah. I think we said everything there is to say about Hoopa. So pretty good, pretty threatening, but also pretty easy to play around and um, exploit. Now,
Actually,
oh, you got more?
oh, there was one last thing that just occurred to me.
Sure.
We can already play around Mega Alakazam just fine,
Mm-hmm.
and it has one of the highest special attacks out of everything in the current metagame. And the way we deal with that is just by revenge killing it or priority.
Yeah. It'd be the same thing
Yeah,
with Hoopa.
Yeah, so basically, if we're already able to deal with Mega Alakazam, then I don't think it's far fetched to say that we can't deal with Hoopa Unbound in
Yeah,
today's metagame.
for sure. That's what I'm saying. There's so many other threats that are like pretty scary, but there's ways to address them. And it's not even like you gotta go that far out of your way to like deal with a Mega Alakazam or a Hoopa or whatever. Like they're both pretty frail. They'll die to like most Scarf damage. It's not even like super effective. Like Scarf Lando deals with both of them like pretty
yeah.
easily. It doesn't. That's pretty easy too, and that's one of the most common Scarfers anyway. So yeah, I don't. I'm not really. Wasn't that impressed. Anyway, and I think the usage kept dropping off as the tournament advanced. I was trying to use it on every team just for fun, but yeah, didn't get very far with it.
I was actually contemplating bringing Hoopa Unbound into the finals, but then my opponent said, "I'm bringing Bird Spam."
I was gonna ask about that. Let's talk
Yeah,
about like your game.
and I said, "I'm gonna punish you for bringing Bird Spam." I was actually contemplating bringing my Lopunny team, but then since my opponent kind of already knew all the antics that there were to know about my team, I said, maybe I'll just go with Diancie.
Yeah, that was a great pick.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Rice Fields and Better Than You, they both kept bringing like the bird spam team last few rounds. It was really annoying. And it's funny that I was gonna ask about that. Like, if you bet on them bringing it again, which seems like a fair bet, but I didn't realize that he basically just told you what he was bringing. That's pretty funny to me.
I thought he was gonna bring something else. I thought I was gonna have to face against bulky offense, and I said, okay, this will be the perfect time to showcase Hoopa Unbound. But then he said, nope, I'm bringing Bird Spam, and I said, okay, I'm bringing something anti-cheese I already have in the builder.
Yeah, honestly, Mega Dancy is really good, like no
A lot of
nonsense mon for a lot of
and
stuff like that.
I was not expecting the hidden power steal,
Oh
like
yeah,
at all.
I expected it.
I didn't because it's been a while since I've last faced Bird Spam. I
I,
haven't
I think
faced
I
it
think it's
since
bad, honestly.
I
The
haven't
entire steal.
faced it since 2015,
Oh really?
and
Wow.
yeah. I played back in current gen, and Bird Spam was exclusively good to get out of low ladder. Like after you hit 1400, you had to load up something else
Wait, really?
because everyone was just naturally equipped to deal with Bird Spam.
Huh. I guess we have different experience with that. For me, I feel like it's always been. I never had like an easy game against bird spam for whatever reason. Like, not that I haven't beaten it, but like it's always like comes pretty close for me. So
Oh yeah,
I actually have like a lot of respect for that HO team, which I don't have much respect for most HO teams, but that one I
oh
do.
yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. You always have to respect it in the you always have to respect it and when you're trying to build anti-cheese teams, which a lot of my teams are, as you can probably tell with all their priority and abilities, the revenge skill, you have to be prepared for everything. And honestly, one of the scariest setup sweepers ever in the ORAS metagame is not Volcarona, but Dragonite.
Yeah, Dragon Knight's definitely no joke.
Yeah, yeah,
I
Dragonite.
lost to that in round two.
Yeah, yeah, and both times I faced Dragonite, I was really scared of extreme speed. And what scared me even more was not the thought of extreme speed, but the fact that he could be bluffing E speed and click roost.
Oh, those are the worst. I hate those ones.
Yeah, yeah, like
Yeah.
like if should they click roost, the game was done. There was no coming back from it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk more about the finals game, how it actually went down. So you said you were surprised by HP Steel, but
Yeah,
um, I
and
were you surprised that he stayed in while you, I mean, while he like, let me start over. Were you surprised that he clicked rocks on you, or did you like expect him to, or like do you think he predicted a switch and like you out predicted him? Like what happened like turn two when you click
okay,
protect?
so turn two, I figured that my Dancy was gonna die, and he thought, okay, maybe I'll try to keep Diancie in for later to threaten something out because Diancie was still absolutely threatening to the team, no doubt about it. I could just pick off. Let me load up the replay real quick. Let me see what his members. Oh yeah, yeah. I could still threaten Manaphy or one of the other members like Talonflame on the switch, because he had no reason to switch out,
Mm-hmm.
and I had no reason to. The only other option I had was going to Excadrill, and I didn't want to eat a Fire Blast. I didn't know if he had Fire Blast or not, so I wanted to protect and scout it out, and he just ended up clicking rocks,
Mm-hmm.
which to be fair was a great play either way, because if I went drill and I just clicked spin, he could just take advantage of that. So staying in worked out for me. It was either okay, I knew that he had Fire Blast and I just sacked Diancie there, or I could prevent rocks.
Yeah, I thought you
I
played that great that turn. Like I didn't really agree with him going for rocks there.
Yeah, I wanted to scout what coverage Azelf was running.
Now I think actually the standard is skill swap. So I guess he opted for hidden power steel over skill swap. But if he had skill swap, he would have been able to just switch abilities. So you would get the you would get the levitate and he'd get the magic bounce and then he would get the free rocks.
I was actually expecting skill swap turn one there
Yeah,
instead of power
yeah,
steel.
yeah.
I thought okay, I just want to get my damage off. I want to see what it's capable of and just kill Azelf immediately.
Yeah, honestly, I think Hidden Power Steel is the worst of the moves he could have went for because it doesn't. I don't think it ever kills the Ansi from
Yeah,
full. I'm pretty sure, or it's like it's got a worse roll than Iron Tail.
because the plan turn two, at least ideally, was then just go after drill and accept the fact, okay, I have rocks. I want to get up my own rocks and I want to deal as much damage as possible.
Hmm. Yeah, no, like I think you played that game like great. I think that was your best play game of the whole tournament. That or the one against Z. Didn't Z bring a whole like he brought like
Yeah, yeah,
a
he brought
psychic
Mono
spam team?
Psychic.
It's
Yeah, he
like,
brought
yeah.
Mono Psychic.
Yeah.
Also, just as a quick FYI, I EV'd my Landorus Therian to be able to eat a Meteor Mash.
Mm-hmm.
I calced it, and it was still roll at -1. I was not running full attack.
Oh,
I,
okay.
yeah, I was not running max attack. I needed prior chip to grab a kill from full.
A Metagross, yeah. No, that thing's bulky. You know,
Yeah.
that's a good mon.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
Um, so and back to the finals game though. Was there a point in the game where you thought you were going to lose, or like were you always like you felt pretty good after like turn two when you got the rocks up, or when he got the rocks up for you?
Well, when I saw he went to Dragonite, I thought, okay, this might be it for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought maybe I can also turn it around. I just wanted to go for Iron Head immediately. I did not expect the crit flinch. I just said, okay,
Oh yeah, that was great too.
I want to break the multi-scale. I want him to click Earthquake. I wanted him to grab a D-Dance and Earthquake me, or else my Excadrill was going to be a pain for him.
Mm-hmm.
And like the original plan was, okay, I just go into Weavile. Weavile can eat an extreme speed. Actually, that's a lie. I was gonna lose from that point on because I let my Weavile eat hidden power steal.
Mm. Oh,
But
oh, sorry. You finished, and then I'll ask a question.
yeah, but that was a great read from my opponent's side. If it wasn't for the flinch, I would have lost. I'll just say it straight up. I would have lost that game.
Well, two things I want to ask about that. What speed was your extra drill at? Was that max speed, Jolly?
I always run max speed. I don't really like slow drill
Mm-hmm.
because then I can't threaten out other drill that may be slow, and I won't be able to threaten out Heatran, which I think an extra drill should always be able to scare out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I have some teams with special drill, but not many. Like I think just having like that max speed Jolly, it's so good because you got speed like adamant metachams, and you get chip off on Manaphy's at least that rarely run timid. I feel like I rarely see a timid Manaphy.
Oh yeah, Timid Manaphy, it's very rare. You'll only see Timid Manaphy on like once in a blue moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a common choice. And my
And
second question. Oh, sorry, you finished that.
oh
No,
yeah,
no,
no, no, no, you can go ahead.
okay, then my second question though, your Volcanion set, so Steam Eruption, Flamethrower. I'm assuming. What was the other moves?
I was running Protect and Toxic.
Okay.
I was inclined to run Roar at one point, but after several rounds of testing, I just said, okay, Protect just makes my life so much easier.
Yeah, I think Protect is. I don't say necessary on Volcanion, but it's a really great option because what do you call it? Well, it's great for scouting. You don't have recovery, and sometimes you can't get rocks off or remove rocks. So it's good to at least like somewhat build your health back up in that case. So yeah, I do like Protect. Um, yeah, okay, those were the only main questions I had. But
I wanted to ask you something
oh
too,
sure,
Ithi.
I've been
So,
talking a lot. Go for it, Anvil.
uh, I know you've been using Volcanion a lot recently, so I wanted to ask you when did your love for Volcanion start?
Well, I was messing around with Latias for the longest time because for the longest time I just couldn't figure out how to get Latias to work. And I was originally building some Latias Volcanion Weavile balance team, and I didn't really like that team. It was fun, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. It wasn't until I saw a build in a replay where I ended up choking my victory, and I thought, hey, this team looks really good. I just need to tweak a mon or two, and it'll be set. And the Lopunny team I used was inspired from that team. It originally had a Hydreigon instead of Volcanion, and I just said, okay, I'll just swap Hydreigon for Volcanion, and this team will be set. And from that point on, once I saw how good Volcanion was, and helping stave off so many threats and just threaten things that would be a nuisance for the team, I instantly fell in love with it, and I just said, okay, this thing, this is the gold mine for Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. This is the gold mine for Gen 6.
Well, it seems to be
Yeah.
in your case. He struggled at least in this tournament. Yeah, I think I have all the questions. Asked all the questions I have about Hoopa and your finals. Anvil, you have any more? Because like I said, I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, do you have any like future plans? I know ORAS seasonals are happening, so you uh I know you had an unfortunate loss in the like the versus like Cyber Odin, but I think you can bring it back for sure. Anything, any tips or pointers you want to give to like like newcomers possibly wanting to get into tournaments? It can be either like building advice or like how to stay confident and that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Really, you want to be using teams that you're not only comfortable with, but that you're confident in the fact that you can handle almost any matchup, and even in the matchups that are considered quote unquote bad, you want to have a plan. You want to be able to say, okay, I may not like this matchup, but I have a plan on how to deal with it. And a great example would just be, uh, let's say, a really standard uh, Keldeo team that you can probably find at the ORAS forums that was built kindly by Dragon. The squad I remember is like Tank Chomp, Keldeo, Metagross, Tornadus Therian, Rotom Wash, and Clefable. And it's a really vanilla squad. There's a lot of matchups that it doesn't like facing. For example, Screen's the biggest one, but even then, even though it has an awful matchup, it's not necessarily unwinnable. So you want to be you want to be making teams that you know can still play against even the worst matchups. That's my biggest tip. Is having teams that you're confident with and that just have an overall good matchup against the metagame.
I completely agree with that. Like
Yeah,
you can make a perfect team, especially in ORAS. There's just too many things to cover, but you should be able to have like some kind of contingency plan if someone brings something that you know that make either be difficult for your team to counter or what have you. So this is stuff you do in the builder. Also, like I'm a strong believer that some games are won in the builder, and many games are lost in the builder. Are you're gonna say?
Oh yeah, and I just wanted to comment on my cyber against Cyber Odin. Great player first and foremost, really great guy, and really the reason why I lost was particularly my fault. I got a little nervous, and I made a few really aggressive plays that just didn't really make too much sense. I remember one turn I had a free kill against Medicham, and I wanted to take advantage of it by trying to scare it out, and it just resulted in me losing. Round two, I had a very unfortunate miss in the end game, and I was forced to forfeit because there was just no way I could bring it back from there. But overall, it was a great experience, and it also teaches you that hey, it's just another player in the end. You just want to have fun. Try don't try to make anything too risky. Be smart about it. Only make aggressive plays when you're like 100% confident that you can pull it off.
Yeah, I think that's good advice definitely for new players who maybe or like me and watch like blunder videos when they first got into this, and they're like, oh man, I want to make these risky, needless plays too.
those are some excellent pointers at the end. I think yeah, it just goes to show like everybody has much to learn. Like even on the like upper echelons, people are still like learning and developing new ways to deal with the meta. So this just goes to show for the people watching, not everyone is perfect. Um, I know like like there are some really strong guys in this opponent. Like I mean in this tournament, like Amir and Sarah, like we said, but Ithi
Oh, thank
still.
you.
Yeah, if he still proved his worth using teams that are still good in this current metagame, and he has proved his point very well. He dealt with the Hoopa Unbound uh, pretty convincingly, and yeah, we wish him the best of luck in the ORAS seasonal and for future tournaments to come. We'll try to hold another tournament in a week or two. Should be a standard ORAS, and then we'll get into some spicy stuff later on. But any last words? And either of you guys wanted to say?
I was just gonna say it's been a pleasure having you with me. Um, great great run you've had, and I wouldn't discount any of your wins because a lot of times, especially in Pokemon, it really just means many wins are just taking advantage of your opponent, beating themselves, and I think you did that like pretty much almost every round. So that's definitely I think a skill that you know really important to master or just like something to understand when you're playing. That you're not beating it. You're not playing a computer. Well, usually you're just playing another person, and they're liable to make mistakes. You just try to make
Oh
less
yeah.
of them. Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this has definitely been a lot of fun to play with in the tournament. I look forward to the next tournament, and I hope to do well there too. I'll see what new teams I can come up with because there's a lot of teams I want to build.
Oh, I bet. I love team building is my favorite part of ORAS in particular. There's just so many options. There's so many cool strategies out there. I think there's a lot of underrated sets and mons out there that people, for whatever reason, just don't try, or they're just used to the standard stuff. or the things of that nature. But I always appreciate people who build their own teams instead of just using like copy and paste stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with using the standard stuff. I mean, it's standard for a reason.
Oh yeah.